In this video, we're going to break down a young hurdler who had just started hurdling for the first time this year. We're going to talk about some of her strengths, some of the things that she can improve on, so that this way, when you see this type of analysis, when you go to break down your hurdlers, you can also do the same thing to make them more sufficient and efficient hurdlers. So before the analysis, I want you to take a look at this video and tell me all the things that you see while she's running.
Oh yeah.
If one of the things that you said she was good at was resilience, then you're probably right. Because if you watch the race, you'll notice that, especially in the beginning when she fumbled and almost fell, she continued to run. She also knows the difference between when she's running or sprinting in between the hurdles and not running or sprinting in between the hurdles. And you will notice that that is evident because there's a few hurdles, maybe 3, where she actually 4-stepped and she ran or 3-stepped the other 7 hurdles. As for her improvements, one of the main improvements that she needs to make was her strength. She was coming from a sport, tennis, where they didn't really lift weights or do any kind of strengthening things. So you could see that in her acceleration. And also her acceleration, if you'd notice, there's really no push out of the blocks. There's really no popping or pushing of her knee and her feet, which is what made her almost stumble and fall out of the blocks. And finally, just flat out speed. You'll notice that with her arms, they're very inconsistent. She'd run in between and her arms would kind of get lazy. So just working on her arm action and her foot speed, which would make her run faster on top and in between the hurdles. So now take one more look at the video. So here you'll see her acceleration, really no push out of the blocks. So she was kind of hesitant to get to the first hurdle. Even in that, her resilience allowed her to continue to run through the first hurdle. Now, even with her speed being less, she was still able to 3-step, but then she stopped using her arms, so then she went to a 4-step for the next 2 hurdles. But then she realized that, okay, I need to run, so she starts running, and then over hurdles 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, she goes back to her 3-step rhythm, and then the last 2, she goes back to 4-stepping. It's not that hard to turn a kid who's never hurdled into a 3-stepper or a person who runs in between the hurdles. You just have to be very tedious with their training, with their drilling, with their sprinting, with all that. You have to be very tedious so that their body can feel what it feels like to actually run in between a hurdle. So with that being said, record everything. Constantly work on acceleration into hurdle 1. Constantly work on your athlete's hurdle technique. Constantly work on acceleration into hurdle 1. Constantly work on hurdle sprint rhythm, and constantly work on strengthening your athletes.